Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Garden School. Well, the dahlias really are blooming now, and I wanted to just think a little bit about how I want to pick them and deadhead them in order to encourage more blooms in the future, because we've got a long ways to go with dahlias. So we'll take a look today at how we're going to cut some dahlias and what we're going to do with them afterwards, okay? Now when it comes to spent dahlias, what we're going to do is remove this. Clearly this one is bloomed out. We can see the petals have dropped here, but also we see that this bud, what's remaining here, it just has a few petals left on it. That one is spent. So we're going to take that off all the way down to where it joins. Okay, there we go. Now here's another one that from the front looks pretty nice, but as we can see in the back side, that has already started to is past its prime. So we're going to take that one off. I might just float it in a bowl or something at home if I want to and enjoy it for a few days. But I'm going to take that one off and let the energy go into these buds and these other fresher flowers that are coming. Now, when it comes to cutting, you want to just think about how tall of an arrangement you want to make and go from there. You also might want to think about the buds that are still coming, and do you want to take a whole stem that has open blooms plus buds and put that in your arrangement, or do you just want the full bloom? Now, for example, this one right here has quite a long stem, and then there's this single bud over here with another long stem. I'm going to let that one develop on the plant, and I'm just going to go ahead and take this one right here. What I'm going to do is just cut it right here at the join, and then I'm going to take this leaf off and I'm going to put it right away into a bucket of water. On this same plant, I've got two here, and that's because the center one, which is already bloomed out, was taken right from the middle. Now I could actually take this one down all the way to here because a bud is not going to develop on this stem for flowering. I will take it all the way off to there, but I'll probably use these individually when I arrange. You'll discover that dahlias have different kinds of growth patterns depending on the variety. Now, for instance, this one right here, this dark red that turns almost black. Wow, that's so striking. That'd be so cool with like a white contrasting flower. Anyway, this one here, you can see that it has a long stem, but look at, there's two buds right there on it, and the part for that central flower is not very long. So when I cut that, I'm probably going to cut the whole thing, including those two buds, and use the whole thing for an arrangement. Here's another one. I'm not sure what to do with this. We got a humongous central one and then two coming off to the side. That one, this center one might be one you just cut on its own and float in a low bowl or something like that. And that way you can let these side ones, which are going to be large, showy flowers, you can let those develop on their own. Well, this is a really nice one. And you can see it's quite a large one too. But I want to take a look and see. It has a long stem, but then coming up from the same place, another stem that has two buds on it, and then another stem that has 1, 2, 3 on it. So I am going to let those buds develop and just take this one stem with the largest flower. We are not sure, is this a bud or is this a spent flower? Well, take a look at the same plant and you can see right here, this little round button, that's a bud that's going to flower still. this that's gotten pointed, that one is spent. And you know, another thing that is a clue here is down below I see petals that have dropped. So this is the one I'm going to deadhead. As you are deadheading and cutting, just beware for the little bumblebees that like to tuck themselves in and rest. I put my cut dahlias into a bucket with a little water in it, and I've tried to fan them out so that they're not laying too much on top of each other. So if you can find a bucket or a container that can facilitate that while you get them from the growing location into the arranging location, go ahead and do that. But try to be quick and try and get them into some water as soon as possible. Well, I think I need to take these home to where I'm going to arrange them or condition them first, and then tomorrow I'm going to do some arranging. So let's go and do that. To condition the dahlias, I'm going to heat some water to between 160 and 180 degrees. I think we're there. The next thing I'm going to do is to just make another cut at an angle up the stem, you know, maybe just a half an inch. These haven't been that long since I cut them. And then I'm going to put the stem right in this hot water. And I'm going to let the flower sit out toward the outside part of the pot. So I'm going to work on that now. Now I have a couple here that have stems or leaves down the stem. I'm going to remove those leaves. I don't want that to go into the hot water. And I might also want to shorten these stems just a little bit. You will use the container size and depth based on the length of your stem. So if you have really long stems, you're going to need a deep pot. If you're going to do shorter stems, then a more shallow one, and perhaps even narrower so they don't tip out. And then the other thing is, leave an area in the center for any steam or, you know, the excess hot water to come out. You don't want the petals either. You don't want the petals to get into the hot water. It's just the stems and just, you know, perhaps 2 inches of the stem. Now I'm going to leave this for at least an hour, and I'm going to let this sit here overnight so that in the morning I can work on my arrangement. These other flowers, the cosmos and the feverfew that I picked to go along with, I do not need to condition these in the same way. They're just going to stay in the bucket of cool water overnight out of the sun. And what I will do though is I will strip any leaves off the stems, so it's really just the stems that are going to be in the water. That will keep any bacteria, or perhaps there's some insects in there, from causing an issue. So that's what we're going to do, let them sit overnight. Great. Now I will say this single one here dropped its flowers, so we just won't be using that. Maybe it was a little bit beyond. Now I want to show you, you can see the darkened part of this stem that was in the hot water. If you're going to use a long stem in a glass container, a clear container, you might want to trim that part off, but it's really not going to be noticeable. So this superstar has kind of a short stem anyway, and you notice that this one is really blooming off to particularly one side. So if I was going to put this in a vase, it'd probably need to have a pretty narrow neck so that it wouldn't just top out. Well, instead, what I'm going to do is just float this guy in a bowl. And I've got the water in there with some floral preservatives that will help to keep your dahlias going for a few more days. And then I'm going to snip this one off and take off any foliage, and then I'm going to have to snip it a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is just let it rest so the stem is under the water line and the petals are just resting on the edge of on the lip of the bowl. There we go. Well, I hope that these techniques, the hot water treatment and then getting him to water right after cutting, then the hot water treatment for at least an hour at 100, between 160 and 180 degrees, you want to get that water hot too, and then let it cool down for at least an hour. And I left mine overnight, and then trim it again, trim the stem again when you're doing your little arrangement. I hope this will get your dahlias to last a little bit longer in indoors or in a vase in an arrangement, and that you can really enjoy that. Well, there's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.